Hello and welcome back to the Israel Truth, a six-part series written by Brooks Alden. Part 2, Marks of Identification. Over half a century ago, a great Bible scholar, Lieutenant Colonel J.G. Wright, wrote a thesis where he recorded 110 biblical references that could be used to identify true Israel. You see, just like evidence is collected to determine the outcome of a court case, this is evidence of the identity of the Israelites. Dear viewers, I beg you not to be confused, because another people have taken on the name of Israel. Remember, some people have the exact same names of others who are famous, but it doesn't change the fact they are not the famous ones. So, just because the name Israel was chosen for a country in 1948, didn't make that nation the Israel of biblical days. Mr. Wright began his thesis with a few comments. He said, God's marks on Israel. If we can discover the nation and people with the Israel marks, we have discovered Israel. Do we in the Anglo-Saxon world possess the marks? And all the marks? Are they on us only? The marks are the one absolute and final test of identity. So, what does the Bible foretell about the future of Israel? For only God knows the future. We are told this in Acts 15 through 18. Then Mr. Wright recorded his 110 marks. For brevity, we record only some of these, but the full 110 appears in his essay under the articles section of our website, along with the relevant Bible references. So, to begin, let's review some of these. The Bible tells us that King David had the promise of a future appointed place for Israel. Then later in the scriptures, we learn that this appointed place was to be in the isles afar off in Palestine. That it would be a place where we were to be saved from our enemies, and when called upon, delivered out of the hands of our enemies. Israel was to have a new home. That home was to be northwest of Palestine, and Israel's home could not be invaded. She was to be a people saved by the Lord, with a new name and a new language and a new religion under the new covenant. Indeed, Israel was to carry the gospel to the entire world as a people glorying in Christ. And she would lose sight of her lineage. She would develop into a great and mighty nation. Indeed, her name was to be great, as Great Britain was ultimately referred. She was to reign over many nations, but be reigned over by none. Israel was to have all the land it needed, and she was to possess the gates of her enemies. Israel was to have a monarch descendant of David reigning, and Israel is likened to a lion, as on the British coat of arms. Israel could not be defeated and would be defended by God. She was to be envied and feared by all nations and have all the land it needed. Israel to have a land of great mineral wealth. She was to have a land of great agricultural wealth, and she was to be rich by trading. Israel was to have control of the seas and be the great naval power of the world. Yet during the American Revolution, Israel was to lose a colony, and then increase in size and strength through subsequent colonization. Yet this was in fulfillment of the prophecy of Genesis 48, where two great rival nations were to spring from Joseph. Israel was to lend to other nations, borrowing from none. Sadly, the prophesied Esau dominion changed all this. Now, I could go on describing the identity of true Israel, but the above should be sufficient to throw light on Israel's true identity still. Listeners are encouraged to refer to Mr. Wright's column on our website for more prophecies and biblical proof. In short, we are Israel, and what is going on in the world is, as Revelation tells us, is that the devil knows his time is short in creating all the damage he can. Thank you very much for watching Part 2 of the Israel Truth, Marks of Identification. Look for our next video in the series, Not Everyone's Blind. If you would like to learn more about the Israel Truth and our message, consider requesting a complimentary copy of our monthly magazine, Thy Kingdom Come, where we talk more about biblical, historical, and current events. Our association is funded entirely through donations, but the magazine is our gift to you.